Ciao tutti, sono Danielle with Learn Italian for Travel. Welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all having a great summer. I haven't made a video in a while. I've just been doing various things, relaxing, having a good time. I hope you are all too. And I'm sure some of you are in Italy right now because that's the time when most people travel, right? So if you are and you've used these videos to help you get there, I'm super happy about that and I hope you're having a fantastic time. Today's video is going to be on disjunctive pronouns. So if you've been studying Italian for a while, you have been introduced to many different types of pronouns. And so I want to clarify what each pronoun is. It's pretty interesting when you're learning English, or my experience of learning English was that I didn't even know what these grammar concepts were called until I learned Italian, because it was never explained to me in learning English. So when you're learning a foreign language, most of the time you're not only learning to speak another language, you're also learning what the grammar concept is called. So it can be kind of overwhelming and where it fits into speech. So with all of this stuff, it's really important to study it and to know what these concepts are and how to use them. And it's also really, really important for you to practice using them. So I would recommend trying to speak to somebody in Italian. You can find people online on various language learning apps. Traveling obviously is the best because you get to use it all the time. Some people don't have the opportunity to do that though. You can look for people in your community. There's lots of ways to reach out to people. So I'd highly recommend that you practice the oral part, speaking and writing as well. So anyways, just that little aside there. So I'm going to review some of the other pronouns that you've learned up until this point, so this isn't confusing. So you started Italian probably by learning the subject pronouns. The subject pronouns are io, tu, lui, lei, noi, voi, loro. I have a video on those. If you haven't watched it, I'd recommend watching that. They're the foundation of the verb conjugations. So you can use those if you want for emphasis mostly, but you don't have to when you conjugate verbs. So the disjunctive pronouns that we're going to do today are actually really, really similar to the subject pronouns. So if you know those, then you're kind of set. There's only two that are different. So we'll get back to those in a minute. I'm going to review the rest of the pronouns that you've probably studied. Reflexive pronouns. So the reflexive pronouns go in front of the verb conjugation to make the verb reflexive, meaning the action of the verb comes back to the subject. So if you say, for example, mi chiamo, you're saying I call myself. And so I'm not going to get into those. I'll do a video on the reflexive verbs and pronouns at some point. So then there's also possessive pronouns. Possessive pronouns are how to indicate that you have ownership of something, like my book or your car or something like that. So there's a lot of them. I actually have a video on possessive adjectives or pronouns, and so you can watch that if you don't know what those are. Okay, next set of pronouns, direct object pronouns. So the direct object of the sentence is the who or the what. For example, if you say, I'm eating a pizza, mangio una pizza. Una pizza is the direct object. So there are pronouns that replace the direct object, and they're very useful in conversation so you don't end up repeating things too much. And I will do a video on direct object pronouns at some point because, like I said, they're very useful. Also, indirect object pronouns. The indirect object of a sentence is the to whom or for whom. So I do have a video on the verb piacere, which always uses indirect object pronouns and indirect objects. So if you haven't watched that, I would recommend watching that. And I'll do another video more in depth on indirect object pronouns as well. So those are the pronouns you've probably seen up until this point. So the disjunctive pronouns, which we're going to do today, are the translation in English is me, you, him, her, you formal, us, you all, and them. So you notice the you is the same. It's the same translation, but the context is different. Okay? And the two pronouns that are different than the subject pronouns, there's only two that are different. It's the me and the you singular. So the subject pronoun I is io, the disjunctive pronoun me is me. But it's actually written the same as it is in English. It's written like me, but in Italian we say me. That's me. So the pronoun, disjunctive pronoun for you, singular, is not tu, it's te. So me, me, te, you. And then the rest of them, the rest of the disjunctive pronouns are the same as the subject pronouns. So to say him, it's lui. To say her, lei. You formal is also lei. Us is noi. You all, you plural, is voi. And them is loro. Facile, see? It's easy. So, because you already know most of these already. So then the question is, when do you use these disjunctive pronouns? So I often hear Italian learners making mistakes when using these disjunctive pronouns. They'll use the subject pronoun instead. So whenever this pronoun is followed by a preposition, you're going to use a disjunctive pronoun. Whenever it's followed by a verb conjugation, if the subject is different following the verb conjugation, you're going to use a disjunctive pronoun. So let's go back to the prepositions. So I do have a video on prepositions as well, and if you haven't watched that, I would recommend watching it. The prepositions a, in, di, da, su, con, per, fra, tra, those ring a bell? Okay, so if you're using one of those prepositions and there's a subject that's following, not somebody's name, but a pronoun referring to somebody, you're going to use one of these disjunctive pronouns. Per esempio, if I want to say, are you coming with me? Okay, con is the preposition there, and then the subject, the pronoun that follows, immediately follows the preposition, so I have to use the disjunctive pronoun. So that question would be, vieni con me? Vieni con me? And if I want to say, this is for you, this is for you, the for, again, is a preposition, it's per, and then the pronoun that follows, it immediately follows the preposition, so I have to use the disjunctive pronoun. Questo è per te. Questo è per te. Okay? Does that make sense? So I use those two examples because those are the two that are different than the subject pronouns. But we can use another example with one of the other ones that are actually the same as the subject pronouns. If I want to say, for example, I'm talking to her, okay? I would say, parlo a lei. Parlo a lei. The lei there is actually a disjunctive pronoun, even though it's the same as the subject pronoun. And so if you've watched the video on prepositions, you know that when you use da, referring to with an action that you're going to somebody's house, you can use the da to refer to their house, their place. So you'll use those always followed by this disjunctive pronoun. So if you're going to say, they're coming to my house, you would say, vengono da me. Vengono da me. If you want to say, we're going to their house, okay, we would say, andiamo da loro. Andiamo da loro. And again, you can replace those subject pronouns with people's names. If you're going to Gina and Giorgio's house, okay, you could say, andiamo da Gina e Giorgio. Va bene? So I said earlier too that another way to use these disjunctive pronouns is when you're using a verb conjugation and then the subject that's following the verb conjugation is different than the conjugation of the verb. So let me clarify that. I could ask you, are you eating? And if I want to emphasize you, I could throw in the subject pronoun at the end. So I would say, mangi tu? Mangi tu? You're eating? So the subject pronoun is used because it's the same as the verb conjugation. But if I want to change subject pronouns, if I want to say, they see you, okay? I would say, vedono te. Vedono te. Because the te, this is a different subject than the conjugation of the verb. So you can also take that te and you can change it into a direct object pronoun, and that'll come in another video. It changes everything around, and you would actually say ti vedono. So there's two ways to say that sentence. Another way that you're going to use these disjunctive pronouns, you can use it to refer to somebody doing something on their own. So someone doing something by themselves, you're going to use the preposition da and then this disjunctive pronoun. But when you get to if you want to say either he or she or they are doing something by themselves, you're going to use the pronoun se with an accent over it instead of the lui, lei, or loro. Per esempio, if I want to say he's studying Italian on his own, I would say studia italiano da sé. Studia italiano da sé. And that sé means it refers to him on his own. Or if I want to say they're eating tonight by themselves, I would say stasera mangiano da sé. Stasera mangiano da sé. And again, that sé refers to by themselves. Va bene? Chiaro? Tutto chiaro? Is everything clear? If it's not, I would recommend, I've mentioned this in other videos, purchasing my book, The ABCs of Italian Travel. Everything is written out here. It'll help you clarify this. I know the videos are important and good for you to hear it spoken also and hear different examples, but it's also really helpful to see it written down. And like I said, I'd recommend finding a partner that you can speak with, because that will speed up your language learning process in a great way. So thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your summer. Click subscribe if you haven't already, and you'll see more videos. I'm going to do some coming up in the next few weeks. So buon divertimento in estate e buono studio. Grazie. Ciao.